Joining us now is French-Algerian journalist and commentator Nabila Ramdani. Nabila, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Majid.
Now, I wanted to speak to you because this chap, Eric Zemmour, who it appears as if will be a presidential candidate in France, a Macron challenger, he says, "I am the man to unite France." But there are some alarming positions he's taken, not least concerning French Jews, but also French Arabs. I mean, his remarks about Vichy and his collaboration with the Nazis, and how he sees it as a good thing that he only exported foreign Jews and not French Jews to the Nazis. But also his remarks on French Arabs. What's going on there in France, in your view, Nabila?
Well, it has to be said that as of yet, he hasn't declared his candidacy to the presidency yet, but he's acting like, a presidential campaigner already. And it has to be said that he personifies the permanently enraged Gallic misanthrope, and he best sums up the current chaos of modern France. To put it very bluntly, Eric Zemmour represents an extremely frightening side of French politics. He is unashamedly racist, he is sexist, and he's liable to provoke very large numbers of people to similar bigotry. He personifies the pseudo-authority of fascism. He's a pseudo-intellectual. I actually call him a pop-philosopher. And he's even a pseudo-statesman. And at the moment, he's fooling millions of very impressionable people at a time when French politics is certainly moving further and further to the right. He's provably a racist because he's been convicted twice for promoting racial hatred against religious minorities.
He's been convicted?
Absolutely.
And in France, he's been convicted for inciting racial hate.
Against religious minority, and he has a very you mentioned his stances on the Vichy regime, but it has to be placed in the context of Zemmour constantly pushing stolen pseudo-intellectual theories, including the Great Replacement theory, which is the view that immigrants from African and Arab countries breed far more quickly than indigenous whites, and will thus eventually replace and therefore dominate society. The problem with this is that France does not, in fact, compile data based on ethnicity or religion. It used to during the Holocaust, making it easy to find and then round up Jews. So this means that Zemmour's views about foreign-looking babies are based on perceptions and not facts. And he seems to lump most of his perceived enemies under the umbrella of Islam. He wants what he considers to be migrants to abandon their religion and their culture so as to become properly French. And this is one of Zemmour's chief obsessions, to the extent that he has called for Arabic names such as Mohammed to be banned in favor of names like Jean or Paul. But as you highlighted,
did I hear you correctly? He wants to ban names such as Muhammad. He wants to ban Arab names in France.
Yes, indeed. He uses the word traditional for names such as Jean and Paul to replace foreign-sounding names, and especially Muslim-sounding names. But you quite rightly highlighted inherent contradictions in Zemmour's profile, which remain quite baffling. Zemmour's parents were themselves refugees from Algeria, which was once France's largest Africa colony, and they moved to France during a crushing war of independence, which the French finally lost in 1962. The family have been described as Arab Jews, yet shockingly, Zemmour has attempted to deny crimes against humanity carried out by the Nazis in France during the 1940s. He is on the record as suggesting that Marshal Philippe Pétain, head of the French collaborators in the wretched Vichy regime, actually tried to protect people from the gas chambers. Now, this is grotesque revisionism of the worst kind. And beyond such unspeakable racist views, he believes that women are weakening society and traditional female roles need to be promoted. That is to say that he believes that the role of women is at home and not building careers.
Just on the point of the Nazis and his historical revisionism, I'm just going to read to you from the Times today, a paragraph in the article. Zemmour has attracted widespread criticism for what detractors claim are his attempts to rewrite the history of the Second World War. He has said that the Vichy regime, which collaborated with the Nazis, should be credited with saving French Jews by reaching a deal with Hitler's regime to deport foreign Jews. A total of 76,000 Jews were sent from France to concentration camps. Now, his remarks on, as you've referenced, his remarks on French Arabs and now historical revisionism regarding the Jewish community, perhaps his line of defence would be, well, I am a French Arab Jew, and that's why I can say these things. But both French Jews and French Arabs must be petrified of some of these comments.
Well, yes, absolutely, especially when you consider that, his way of getting away from his revisionism about Jews was to say, well, actually, I haven't read into the subject properly, which exposes him as, this pseudo-intellectual who is appealing to millions of people at the moment. A few years ago, he would have been considered a lunatic French candidate, but we live in very strange times. And I would contend that the election of Donald Trump and to a certain extent the success of the Le Pen candidates this century have given huge confidence to strong characters who use the media rather than the traditional party system to promote themselves. And Zemmour is just like Donald Trump in that he's come from nowhere, but has a great deal of appeal to an almost nihilistic type of voter who thinks that the whole system is broken and that it needs replacing with a single strong man. Zemmour is first and foremost a journalist. He's somebody who communicates very slickly, and he's paid to appear on primetime slots, and he uses this base to appeal to millions of viewers and therefore millions of voters.
Now, people give Britain a lot of criticism for having political commentators such as Nigel Farage and others, but it appears things in France, Nabila, are a lot worse, particularly with what you've just referenced there and Zemmour's views on French Arabs and French Jews and his historical revisionism. He's even managed to overtake Marine Le Pen or appears to be overtaking Marine Le Pen in the polling. Are you of the view that something appears to be radicalising French society?
Well, I think the situation in France is that at the moment the political system is massively divided and votes spread across a huge number of candidates. And I have to say that the quality of the people going into political life in France at the moment, just as it is in all Western democracies, is of very low quality, and consequently very weak candidates can look very popular indeed. So yes, Zemmour is a novelty racist who could easily win through to the second round. Of course, this situation of the political division in France suits extremists like Zemmour, who are mainly in it for the publicity. And it has to be said that another fault of the two-round election system in France is that otherwise responsible voters can use the first round to let off steam while knowing that they will not cause serious damage. And so they vote for the far right or extremist candidates in round one, and having made that point, go back to backing a moderate in round two. And this suits candidates like Zemmour.
All right, well, we're going to have to end it there. But Nabila Ramdani, thank you very much for joining us, French-Algerian journalist and commentator, bringing us up to date with the latest political developments in France.